Good evening, Tom. You're back.
I am. Hello, everybody. My name is Tom Jones, Pharmacist, and we are live again. And we actually were on earlier, had a great session about thyroid. And now we're actually going to be talking about estrogen. And if you're a lady, that's something that you need to know a lot about. And if you're a guy, yeah, you do have some estrogen, and you need to know if you have a lot of estrogen if you're a guy, because that's not so great for you. But what are we doing? We're actually teaching and learning and coaching, and we're talking about health and wellness issues, and we're talking about how you stay healthy. And again, I have two shows that are actually on every single day. Number one is Today with Tom. That's usually on in the mornings. Today we kind of had a late start, so it was on in the evening, and Regina Whitaker joined us. Good to see you again here, Regina. She's one of our regulars, and if you want to be regular, just follow us. And Jamie Marks Lee, she's back on. She's one of our regulars, and wow, so we got the regular folks hanging out. And we talk about all sorts of things. All you got to do is let us know. We'll bring it up, whether you know, it may not be a great subject, but I tell you what, now thyroid got people's attention earlier tonight, and we talked about all the issues that go along with thyroid, and we even talk about shag dancing, which is one of my favorite things to do. A lot of our folks are out there already shag dancing tonight. Tonight's been a big night for shag dancing. We were in studying and working and hanging out. But the key to it here is we're going to teach you what you want to know. And I've had a wonderful resurgence here of people just absolutely wanting to know about menopause and perimenopause and all the different aspects of menopause, postmenopause. And Jamie says, what if you can't take estrogen due to blood clot? Jamie, that's one thing that you really will have to be very careful with the rest of your life. Make sure you don't take estrogen, because it is not good for blood clots. If you've had a issue there, you never want to use estrogen. And it depends really on a lot of different factors. So estrogen is needed by the body, but if you've had blood clots and you want to prevent breast cancer, what you don't want ever, and I want you to remember this, take this down, write it down right now. You want balance in your body. You don't want unbalance. And what happens with estrogen, and estrogen has a lot of good things for the body, a lot of good qualities, but it has one problem. Unbalanced estrogen dominance is not good, because it leads to all sorts of things. And this is one of the areas, if you're prone for breast cancer, you cannot have an unbalanced body. You have to have balance in everything, and estrogen is no different. It is so vitally important that you keep your body balanced. And that means not too high a level. You don't want the lowest level in the world if you can get by with having and consuming estrogen. But there's a lot of factors that go into all of the processes. There's a lot of reasons to have estrogen in the body. We're going to go over those tonight. But there's a tremendous amount of reason not to have estrogen dominance. It increases your risk of breast cancer exponentially. It just goes out the roof. So estrogen dominance is a problem, and it's a very complex, a very complicated issue. And there are ways to get your estrogen levels down. And that's one of the things that you really have to be very cognitive of. And Jamie says she's got hot flashes. So there are areas, and I'll send you some items via via your Facebook page as far as the areas that you can look for as things that will help the hot flashes. But tonight, and that'll be in a private message. So the key to this is know what is good, but certainly know what is bad. And to have unbalanced estrogen in the body increases a lot of risk factors. But let's talk about what estrogen does in the body, because estrogen is a female hormone. It's the ladies' hormone. Guys have it too. You just have less amounts, I hope, because guys, if they get too much estrogen, then that increases lots of issues for guys. Number one, prostate cancer. So you need to have, again, in your body, whether you're male or female, you need a balance. You need a balance. You need some estrogen, typically, unless you have cancer or some of the other areas. You need progesterone, real progesterone, not the synthetic progestins, to balance your estrogen. You have estrogen receptor sites all over the body. You have progesterone receptor sites all over the body. I've heard the argument that if you don't have a uterus, you don't need progesterone. If you read the literature, and if you're a scientist, and you go by the physiology of the body, you have receptor sites all over the body, the brain, the skin. Every conceivable part of the body has receptor sites. Estrogen, progesterone. So both of them, you need to have the right balance of the hormone in your body. And there's right ways to do it, and there's wrong ways to do it. A lot of people are doing it the wrong way. So if you're actually, and there was a synthetic estrogen on the market for years. It's still on the market. It's called Premarin. And you know, if you're a compounding pharmacist, which I am, you don't like to hear synthetic chemicals, particularly when you're talking about a hormone that has certain functions and duties in the body. And when you have those and you artificially put it back in, and the argument has been, you know, Premarin being from a horse, that is natural for the body. Well, I guess if you're a horse, I mean, I don't know, but certainly isn't for a human. So, but then if you don't have a uterus, you need estrogen only. But then you run into the realization that if you got, what did I just say earlier? If you've got an unbalanced situation, you don't have enough progesterone, real progesterone. I'm not talking about synthetic made medroxyprogesterone acetate type chemical or ingredient. I'm talking about the real stuff. Progesterone, which is natural for the female body, particularly when they're expecting. The levels go extremely high, and it keeps the body naturalized. And Regina says, well, yeah, birth control makes me crazier. And of course, Robin Reagan Thompson just joined. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight, Robin. And you know, this whole body of ours is just so miraculous. It's complicated. It's really, really, really complicated. But there are studies. There are ways that you can learn what works good and what doesn't work well for the body. And that's why I'm a scientist. That's why I'm a compounding pharmacist. That's why I love these areas, because the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know it all. You don't know everything. And there's nobody that knows everything, but yet we can learn and become familiar with the basics and the physiology of the body tells us certain things. And when those certain things add up, and we look at them and we do the clinical trials and we look at the results of those, and not the opinions of a medical group or doctors or pharmacists that believe that synthetic hormones are as good as the natural. That's an opinion. That there is no real verdict, but there are some telltale signs that we know and see and listen to. You want to listen and become familiar, and you want to study. I was just at a conference 2 weeks ago. The latest studies, I've got it in my brain now. It's really fascinating. But if you learn and become the go-to person and the knowledge base, and you're then able to comprehend and decide and help people, and we always want studies coming in. We always want the double-blind clinical trials. We always want to compare and take our notes and look up and down, and we never want to recommend the wrong thing, the wrong approach. And you know, you go by science. Science is factual. You look at it, determine what works best. You do the studies, you put that in your playbook, and that's how you come up with the right ways to help people. You never want anybody to come down with breast cancer or cervical cancer or any of the other dread diseases, but you also want people to be able to tolerate life easily. So we'll get off on a tangent there, but it's something that's it's really dear to my heart. We are working diligently to have the best menopause program out there in the marketplace. We've already had one whole week series of menopause. That's one of my key subjects that I've always been interested in. And as a compounding pharmacist, I had to get involved 25 years ago, and I'm still involved even today. So, all right, but let's talk about estrogen. But we're going to have a fantastic program that will answer and give the latest current data and the science behind all the menopausal issues on the market. But now let's talk about what estrogen does for the body. It's a wonderful, it can be the hormone of life, and it can be the hormone of death. Now, that's just as simple as it can be. But it's also the hormone that gives you so many plus factors in your life. Number one, it's a female sex hormone. It's estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, the three major hormones. DHEA is a hormone. There's many other hormones in the body, but it's abundant more in women because that's what allows you to have the chemical makeup that you are. And you know, the organs, the cells, the whole overall growth and functioning of your body has a flavor of estrogen in it because you are female. And we're going to learn about all the different functions of estrogen in the human body, and hence you'll have a better understanding of essentially how it helps one's health. And it does maintain really, really good points for the body. Number one, let's talk about the brain. Let's talk about the brain development and functions because not only does estrogen help as far as the physical health, studies have resulted in major effects on mental health. And it's instrumental in delaying memory loss. So memory loss is helped tremendously by estrogen being in the body. Women who have their uterus and ovaries removed have really had some problems as far as the mental aptitude and the cognitive functions when that has occurred. Estrogen delays the mental loss part of the brain's function. It helps in the modification of the endorphins in the brain, and those are kind of like the happy hormones. So they're able to provide favorable effects as far as the mood of the body. And estrogen, therefore, is really good for mental acuity. And, all right, here's some other aspects. When a woman goes through perimenopause and through menopause, there is an impact on the physical health of the body. And whereas guys don't need much, ladies need a bigger amount because it helps in a lot of areas. When you have deficiency in estrogen, you have thinner and lesser body hair. It preserves the bone integrity, and we had a whole week on osteoporosis and osteopenia, how you build good bone for the body. All three hormones play a role here, but estrogen is the main, is really the number one hormone that helps in preserving the bone density of the body. The shoulders are, when you have deficiencies, you have shoulder narrowing, you have the pelvis area broader. Shorter vocal cords actually occur when you have less estrogen. Less estrogen causes reduced muscle mass, and it actually it hurts the ability of the body's processes to burn fat when you have less estrogen, and less estrogen affects the breast negatively, production of milk negatively. So all of these factors need estrogen as far as, and Peter Buick from over in the UK has a great question. How does one know and test one's estrogen level? Do you have how do you obtain the test kits, and are there any natural signs? I'll answer that question at the end of the webinar at the Facebook Live tonight, and we'll come right back to that, Peter. I'm going to give you the answer to that, and there are some major ways to actually get that done. All right, so the next aspect is the bones. Let's go back to the bones. You need adequate estrogen levels to keep the bones in a structured way of not losing bone. You want to have, particularly as you age, you want to have good, sturdy, strong bone structuring. And the way you do that is with exercise. You do it with having the right amount of the hormones, the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And you want to build, you want to have calcium and magnesium and all the trace minerals. It's not just calcium by itself, phosphorus. All the trace minerals, the minerals that you won't even think about, the manganese and the chromium, and all of those help in that bone forming process. To have sturdy bones protects you from breaking or having a broken hip, which in a lot of cases is the demise of males and females, even more so in males than it is. More males die within 1 year of a hip fracture than females, but still it's the mortality there is just absolutely, it goes through the roof. So a good, strong bone structure is critical to keeping alive as we age. And the skin health. Now, talk about wrinkles occurring more often. When you have less estrogen in the body, the skin really suffers tremendously. And that's, of course, the first thing that you see when you actually look at someone. If your levels of estrogen are lower, and that's not a good thing when you're a lady in say the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. If you have low levels of estrogen, you're going to have more wrinkles. The skin will not be as smooth. It'll be more dried, and it just doesn't function as well. So cardiovascular health is really, there's a great amount of need in the body to keep the heart pumping strong and being strong. And when you lose the levels of estrogen that you're accustomed to,